I'm from Canada.
Canada!
Welcome everyone, I'm Richard Krause with a list of Canadian comedies that are more fun than a 2-4 of Moosehead. A little bit later on in the show, we'll meet the governor of Givin'er, a bingo caller named Nasty Ned, an obsessive film fan, and a free-spirited teen whose birthday mushroom trip brings her face-to-face with her 39-year-old self. First, though, let me introduce you to writer-director Cody Lightning and his film, Hey Viktor. In the classic 1998 film Smoke Signals, Cree actor Cody Lightning played the younger version of the lead character Viktor. A quarter of a century later comes Hey Viktor, a mockumentary starring Lightning as an exaggerated version of himself as he desperately seeks to relive old glories.
I'm Cody Lightning, Smoke Signals. I was in it. I don't know where I would be without that movie.
No more f***ing around, man. We're making my movie.
You cannot make a sequel without the express permission of its original creators.
He was in the original movie. Like, people still recognize him.
He doesn't have any money, does he?
If we don't do this, I have fuck all. I'm losing my kids. I'm not getting parts.
Viktor is a big star in Germany.
100 grand. Okay.
And we make a movie!
Hey Viktor just may be the Spinal Tap of child actor movies. Funny and absurd, but with an undercurrent of reality that grounds the heartfelt moments, it delivers laughs and some bittersweet moments. Make no mistake though, this is a comedy first and foremost, and a raunchy one at that. But as it works its way to the end, it careens through a dysfunctional journey of self-discovery. At the heart of the film is Lightning. Playing a character who wants to overcome the demons that plague his adult life, he makes peace with those he has wronged and with himself. It's not a subtle performance. The nudity, the poop jokes, and the ruthless swearing see to that, but it is a heartfelt one. Hey Viktor is a gopher comedy that matches humor with heart.
You are a terrible actor, and you are a lonely, terrible man.
My Old Ass is a coming-of-age dramedy starring Maisie Stella that asks a simple question. Would you like a sneak peek of your adult life, complete with all the good, the bad, and the ugly the future will offer? Stella plays Elliot, an 18-year-old whose future self guides her through the landmines of growing up and falling in love with one vital piece of advice. Avoid anyone named Chad. No spoilers here, though.
I am a very young adult.
I'm so jealous you guys had good trips.
Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Dude, I know mom can be annoying, but be nice to her. And go hang out with your brothers. Ow, Max! Also, can you avoid anyone named Chad?
Good morning, Elliot. Have you met Chad?
Elliot, you freak. I put my number in your phone the other night, but I did not know this would work. Wait a minute, hang on. Basement! Basement! Dude, I gotta go. You were so lucky. Life will never be the same as it is right now. Just take my advice and we'll be fine.
Oh my God!
I think.
I spoke with director Megan Park about how a trip to her family home inspired the movie.
I just had my daughter and I was feeling super nostalgic and thinking about how beautiful it was here and why did I ever want to leave and why was I rushing to move on with my life. And it was sort of the feeling in the movie. There's a scene where two characters are talking about there's like a last time that you play with your friends, you know, and you go bike riding, you don't realize it's the last time. And it was that feeling really that, I don't know, I was feeling very sentimental, and that's what made me want to explore this idea. But really the conversation between a younger and older version of the same person and the mushroom trip and all that came later in the process. It's kind of started out as a feeling.
I asked the film star Maisie Stella how she created the character of Elliot.
I've thought about this a lot, and I think that I had been not working for like 4 years. I was on a show when I was younger, and then I stopped when I was like 14. I had the years 14 to 18 to just like play, and I went to high school, and
Is play means grow up.
yeah,
right?
just
From
to
that
play
age,
and to
yeah,
grow up
yeah.
and to explore and like make mistakes and literally just like not have an actual obligation and yeah, and just like find myself, make sure my head was nice and screwed on. And I feel like honestly, those years was more prep for this movie than I could have ever imagined. Like, I think that was like the best form of prep. Instead of like running my lines, I was like actually living kind of a similar feeling life to this character, and I wasn't like acting like a normal young teenager. I just was one. And so and I think also like that summer before I went to film, it was like that was also my last summer with all my friends before I went through a life-changing experience. You know, it was just like all kind of similar, but I think I felt really connected to the character, and I felt that I related to the arc and like where she was at the start to where she is now. Like, I don't know, I felt all of the things that she was kind of feeling.
Tell me a little bit about what you think about the idea of talking to your older self. I think it's a fascinating idea. And often, if I'm hosting a Q&A with an actor or something, and we'll show a film clip, and I'll say, you know, from years ago, I'll say, what would you say to that guy right now, or that person right now? And you get these really fascinating answers from them once you have a little bit of life experience under your belt. But I don't know that I need my older self guiding me through life. How do you feel about it? I'm not sure what they'd say, for one thing. There'd be a lot of, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I've said many times that I reject the concept of meeting my future self. I also, like, am my mother, and I feel like I see my future self every day. We have the same brain and the same body and the same face and the same everything. And so I'm cool with that. I'm probably just going to turn into her, which I'd say.
That's the line in the movie.
Yeah. So I'm honestly, like, I'm pretty content. I think she kind of is my future self.
The film was shot in and around the Muskoka Lakes area in Ontario, which offered Megan a unique way of getting to work. Megan, do you make a habit of jet skiing to work on all your films, or is it just this one?
I wish. It was such a, I'm going to say, spiritual experience for me. It truly was. I loved jet skiing up in Muskoka, and there was a few locations. You know, it can take a long time to drive all the way around the lakes, but it would be like 10 minutes to boat from my dock to a boat across the lake, and I took full advantage of that every chance I could. And I remember like my backpack on, my toque on, and I was just going across the lake, and it was glass. I was like, I'm never going to get to do this again, so soak up every second. It was as fun as it sounds.
Despite a title that suggests a 1990s teen comedy, My Old Ass is a surreal coming-of-age story that stays anchored to reality with natural, heartfelt performances and a great deal of humor. The film's heart is Maisie Stella, who, as young, optimistic Elliot, wrestles with real-life situations and feelings about her sexuality, her future, and the notion of leaving her teen years in the rearview mirror. Her charismatic presence gives My Old Ass a bittersweet but never sentimental edge that elevates its love story above and beyond a Nicholas Sparks-style romance or a teen comedy trope. My Old Ass is an entertaining and often funny look at the importance of embracing life fully in all its joy, as well as its disappointments and its agonies. Look for My Old Ass and the other films on this podcast on your local streaming services, but don't forget to support new Canadian films when they play in theaters. For reviews of new and old Canadian movies, check out my website at richardkraus.ca.
I'm from Canada.
Canada!
Next, I'll have a look at Givin'er 89, a heartfelt comedy that may have one of the highest F-bombs to lines of dialogue ratios in film history. We first met Dean Murdoch, played by Paul Spence, the governor of Givin'er 22 years ago, in the classic mockumentary Fubar. Givin'er 89 sees the headbanger looking back at his life, revealing how he survived the 1980s and made a success of himself.
My name is Dean Murdoch. A lot of people call me the Deaner. Some call me the f***ing governor of Givin'er. For a while there, I played in bands and had a lot of jobs. You know what, though? I finally f***ing made it. To understand what happened to me, you gotta go back to 1989. It was the 80s. Life was deadly, man.
Congratulations on the movie.
Oh, thanks.
Tell me a little bit about playing this character. You've been doing it for on and off for about 20 years. So what's it like to step back into his skin now?
I've kept going back to the character because it's so fun. Like, it's just so fun to be Dean. And it feels like it's a lot. It's easier to be funny just for whatever reason. The character really resonates with people, and when I put myself into the Deaner mindset, just funny stuff comes out of my mouth without even really trying sometimes. So yeah, it's just a blast. So that's it.
Do you think it's that you've known that character for so long? That's why it's easier to be funny? Like there's a little part of your brain that is permanently switched on to Diener mode?
Absolutely. Oh, for sure. I mean, if you stare at like a black triangle on a white background for an hour, and then you close your eyes, you're going to see the black triangle in your mind, right? So the more you do Dean, the more he becomes part of you. But I think all of our personalities, like every single human being, has a certain part of their personality that is kind of that they hold back a little bit.
Right.
That is, the sort of the yin and the yang, the id of the human personality, where you're not comfortable being yourself all the time. And so with Dean, I think that's the part of my personality where a lot of the filters are removed, where you just sort of say what you think, and you have that armor of it not being you, right? So you can kind of get away with things. And then you throw the sort of like the small town accent, the Canadian accent in there. And it's just like, oh, he's just being the Diener. He's not being mean. He's just being Dean.
Dean Murdoch, played by the 40-something Paul Spence from teen to adult, could easily have been a caricature of a devil-horned, flippin', Dawkin-lovin' metalhead, but Spence taps into something deeper. Sure, Dean is a devil-horned, flippin', Dawkin-level metalhead, but he's also rather sweet, positive, and optimistic. The key to getting away with some of his more outlandish behavior is that ultimately he's a good guy and you root for him. Spence, who also wrote the script, ensures that you laugh with him, not at him. Diener 89 is part Canadian 80s nostalgia and part hero's journey to a different life. Next up, another movie that gives Diener 89 a run for its money in the cussing and cursing department. Vandits, co-written and directed and co-starring Stu Stone, is the story of 4 criminals named Vandits because they're bandits with a van who plan on robbing a bingo hall that has been advertising a $25,000 Christmas jackpot. I spoke with Enrico Colantoni, who plays Ned the bingo caller in the movie. I did not expect that it would be like a Christmas version of Rashomon, which is something that I hadn't really anticipated ever seeing in my life.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Yeah, it's the same moment, the same heist, told from a different points of view, from everyone else's points of view, and it's set at Christmas time.
It seems like something's gonna go wrong here. $25,000, here we come.
And then we get the Lambos?
Then we get those Lambos. How do you even know the money's here?
What's the money's here? They keep it in the money room in the bank.
Rashomon, that's like what a compliment. I would have said, Groundhog Day, a little Christmas Carol in there.
I love that you are working with young filmmakers, doing something exciting, doing something that you're doing because you love it. Because I'm guessing you didn't get paid $20 million to show up and do this one. So I just love that.
Money. I think I ended up paying them something.
I've been reading about this. So the day before they're supposed to start shooting, everything disappears. They get robbed.
They stole the truck. They didn't know what was in it. They just stole the truck, took their chances. They recovered it eventually, but they had to get backup equipment from Toronto to come in and, they're just the funniest people I've met in a long, long time. So I hope it becomes another Christmas story, just a little film that just a little far off center and quirky and funny and just absurd, just absolutely absurd. Which, Christmas and absurdity, I think, should go hand in hand.
Vandits is lowbrow and it's vulgar, but it's also a bit of fun in the vein of Bad Santa. I'll wrap up today's look at CanCon comedies with I Like Movies from director Chandler Levac. The film festival hit is based on her experiences working at a Blockbuster video store in Burlington, Ontario in the early 2000s. It's the story of how movie-obsessive Lawrence Queller allows his love of film, his dream of attending NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, and his anxiety to alienate the most important people in his life. part workplace comedy, think high fidelity only in a video store, part character study, I Like Movies is a sweet-natured, funny film that digs deep to make us feel empathy for Lawrence, a socially awkward character who hides his real feelings behind a facade of bluster and pretension. Strong performances and a genuinely heartfelt script make this take on adolescent angst a really, really winning debut for Chandler LeVac.
Movies are my entire life. I need to watch movies like I need to breathe air. You guys finding everything okay today?
Do you work here?
No. I just wanted to give you a hard copy of my resume. I'm very good at beginning with the end in mind, which for me is going to NYU Tisch School for the Arts.
I just don't understand why you won't apply to Canadian universities.
Because I don't want to be like a Canadian filmmaker.
What about Adam McGuane or David
Cronenberg. Oh my God.
Let's talk about when you worked in a video store. So that is kind of the basis of all of this. So I guess the question is two-part. A, why work in a video store? And B, what did you love about video stores?
Oh, yeah. My Joker origin story. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I got a job when I was about 16 at the Blockbuster in Burlington, Ontario on Brant Street. And that was kind of my dream job because at the time I was obsessed with cinema, and at Blockbuster you could get 10 free rentals a week. And, you know, like they say in the movie, 15% off all Cola branded products.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes I would get to sneak expired bags of Twizzlers if they were, you know, no one was looking the right way. But yeah, I think for me, it was just like a safe space to kind of actively nerd out. I mean, even if the customers at the Blockbuster didn't exactly share my obsession with, like, you know, Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson films and old Stanley Kubrick movies, at least I could, you know, I had a safe place to kind of express it to them. And, you know, it was at a weird time, I think, in culture because, you know, it was like kind of the heyday of video stores, but they were about to disappear forever. So it was kind of like the peak of when they were culturally relevant. And yeah, but it was all about kind of like this sort of corny idea of like cinema, but like branded to be corporate. You know, there was nothing cool about the Blockbuster that I worked at. And it was all about kind of selling things and kind of upsizing people on memberships and stuff. All this stuff I was really, really bad at. And I would get like chastised by my managers for not like being like positive enough about like Spider-Man 3 and DVD and stuff. But every so often, like a person would come in and like ask me like what they should rent tonight. And, you know, kind of being able to like genuinely connect with people about cinema was like my favorite thing to do.
Tell me about how much of Lawrence, who is the main character in the film, is based on you. I mean, I'm assuming a great deal of it, but tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, probably more than I would care to admit. I'm really happy that I reversed the genders so that people are like, oh, he's so insufferable and annoying. I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, he's just a very different person than me. But I think it was really hard for my mom to watch the movie. But yeah, I think he, you know, he's obviously kind of a exaggerated version of maybe what I was like in high school and different. And there's a lot of parts of his like autobiographical backstory that have nothing to do with my life at all, and embellishments and stuff. But I think maybe the core kind of gear shift of like what makes him tick as a person are definitely things that I really struggled with in high school and grew out of. And I feel like I can maybe now, the reason that I feel like it can be an empathetic, loving portrait of him is because I feel like I was sort of an exercise of trying to find empathy and love for my high school self.
That was Chandler LeVac. You can find I Like Movies wherever you legally buy and download films. I'm Richard Krause. Thanks for listening to Maple Syrup for Your Eyes. I'll be back soon with more suggestions. In the meantime, be sure to celebrate and support Canadian films.